All right. Hello, hello.
Hello, everybody. How's it going?
Cool. Well, here we are. I think as long as everything worked fine, we are broadcasting it to a bunch of different surfaces: YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter. Welcome
Sweet.
everyone that is joining. My name is Serge. I am a developer experience engineer at Sentry. I don't think that's as important as the person that I have the privilege of talking to for the next hour. Kent, what's up, dude?
Oh, so many things, so many things. But yeah, life is good. I'm excited to talk about Cody and the like self-healing nature and things that I've built up in Cody. How Sentry plays a role in that as well. So yeah, lots to talk about.
Nice. Yeah. And I don't want this to just be a Sentry plug or just about self healing. I think there's a lot of questions that I personally have, and I'm selfishly using this hour as an excuse to have someone that I've looked up to my whole career pretty much as a developer to be able to ask those questions. And also for everyone else that's joining, the chat is open. So feel free to say hi, let me know, let us know where you're calling in from, what time of the day it is, and how many parallel agents you have running currently.
Ooh, yeah. Let me see. I've got one. Oh man, all no two. I've got two that are still running. The rest of them are finished and waiting for me to like review what they did or whatever. So
Yeah, it's funny. We were just talking offline, and you had one, I think, Codex running with computer use, and it decided to go ahead and open up a YouTube video to start playing. And maybe it is learning how to code itself. Maybe it's watching one of
yeah,
your
yeah.
tutorials.
It was looking at it like what was playing in the background was one of my favorite authors, and he like gives this weekly update on stuff. So I have no idea what I had tasked it to do was to turn an image of Cody and Grokbot into like riding one wheels doing a kick flip. So I don't know how it got to YouTube from that. I told it that its first attempt didn't work, and so then it decided to like I don't know go off to YouTube to figure out how kick flips work or something. I don't know.
That is hilarious.
Oh, funny stuff.
Cool. Yeah, and so for today, I don't think we have like a planned agenda. I know the session title was cursor automations with Sentry, but I think there's a lot to cover, and I think it'll all kind of revolve around this little koala bear that you've been hanging out with and working on for the past little while, by the name of Cody.
Yeah.
So yeah, why don't you just like kick it off? Let us know what Cody is. Maybe like feel free to share your screen, show us around, and we'll see where that goes.
Yeah. Okay. Let me do the screen share thing here real quick. And seriously, everybody, thanks for coming over. I think this is pretty cool to that we can talk about this stuff. Um, so feel free to ask questions and whatnot. You're saying Cody.codes right now, right?
I am now
Yeah,
presenting it.
there it
Yes.
is. All right, yeah. So Cody Codes is the private software ecosystem all your agents can share. It's so many things, and finding out how to like position a product I found is super crazy hard. And this title has said different things over time, but I like to say it's like your own personal npm and GitHub that all of your agents can use together. So um, yeah, it's durable software. It's all kinds of things. And this is Cody happy to hold all your secrets and keep them secret from the agents that want them, but also make it so that your agents can do all kinds of things with them.
Yeah.
So it's not just like another assistant that you talk to. There's no, in fact, there's no inference at all in Cody's code base. It's just an MCP server. And so as a result, it integrates with all of the things. You've got like whatever agents you're using. And I would say that like if you just want to have just one agent that does all the things for you, then I would probably just use Grokbot. I don't know that Cody quite has a place for the sort of person who's just like, my entire life is in one agent. I like to think of Cody as more of a special mechanism for visiting other gardens. So if you're happy being in a single walled garden, then like Grokbot's pretty good. The other thing though that Cody is really good for, even in that scenario, is makes it so things are cheaper because Cody is like deterministic software that you can run, and it's going to not use inference every time. So I'm not sure what the final like result of Grokbot and the pricing and everything. Like computer use is not free, all of that. But I do think that you'd probably save money or at least save tokens if using Cody.
Yeah, it's funny because I think the evolution that we've been through is like Grokbot is a good example of like what I think OpenClaw has become now, or like what they standardized on. But early on, when I tried OpenClaw, it had this heartbeat that ran every 15 minutes, and it did an inference call, and so people were like, "Oh my god, it's using up so much of my so much of my resources." And when it was like API price billing, then you get crazy. So yeah, definitely. I think the shift has been more and more towards people not token maxing as much these days as they used to. Again, making sure that, and like the other side of it is, you mentioned deterministic software, where like you, as much of an LLM can do, it can do it so many different ways. But figuring out a repeatable process that it can follow to save those tokens, to not have to reinvent the wheel every single time you like start a new session with an agent or do something else. It's like super, super cool to see these kind of primitives emerge. You did mention it's just an MCP server. I think you're giving it a little bit of a disservice. Do you want to talk about how it works? I know, like, I believe it's using code mode as the primitive. And so maybe like for people that are not familiar with MCP as much, maybe we can do a little kind of like sidetrack into how this particular MCP server is set up versus like a tip. I don't know what a good example is of something different. I guess we can use Sentry as an example, but yeah.
Yeah. So most MCP servers are like, I think of an MCP server as a website for the agent. So if we're talking about making a website that's for a human user, there are links that can take you to different pages where there are forms that you can perform certain actions. And we don't just have a single page that has like everything on it, right? And like all the endpoints, and you just enter in the details or whatever and hit endpoints directly. We give like curated and happy path ways that we want people to use our software. An MCP server is a very similar thing for the agent. So it's not just here's my entire API, go have a good time with that. It is here's like a curated set of use cases that I've thought about ahead of time to have you use this stuff. The problem with that is MCP as it's implemented in most clients, does not have like a great mechanism for progressive discovery. And so it's like, here's all the tools possible. And that is a problem with context and all of that. And most MCP clients, most of the popular ones, have dealt with that by just like saying, okay, I've got all your tools. I'm going to set them over here. And I'll just tell the agent that it can ask me and I'll find the right one for it, which is a little bit better. It's certainly better for context, but yeah, a little bit better. It's not quite as good as being able to progressively navigate a website, where you say, you know what, this is the category, the area that I want to work in. So anyway, before clients got smart about this, code mode became a thing. This is back in September 2026, so or 2025. So it may as well have been like a decade ago in AI terms. But they tried to tackle this by saying, instead of exposing a ton of tools to agents, we will make it so that the agent can just write code to handle the tool calls. Let me see if I can find a good example of what this actually looks like. Yeah, here's a graph. So you've got your agent, you got the MCP server. And so what code mode said, like, instead of talking directly to the MCP server, we'll have the agent in here that executes code in a sandbox. And so now the LLM, instead of saying, hey, call this tool, the LLM says, hey, execute this code. And that code gets executed in a dynamic isolate sandbox. It's basically, you could think of it as a Cloudflare worker that is spun up and executed on demand. And so
kind of like a serverless function, like a Lambda in AWS, kind of like all these different primitives, but it's just like one instance of like, hey, let me just write something, compute it, and then return the results back.
Yep. And then we can throw it away, or we could reuse it, but yeah.
Sorry, do you want to just zoom in just a little bit, just so I don't know if people are on smaller screens?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
perfect.
this dynamic isolate sandbox is like the real key to making code mode work in the Cloudflare cloud environment. The thing is, you don't have to do code mode in the cloud. Like you can have a client that does code mode. OpenCode is exploring this right now actively, and Dax has been posting some very positive reviews of that process. It's very cool. You can think of it also as like if you ask your agent to do something, sometimes it's going to write some code in a file and then it will execute that file. It's a very similar thing, except in this environment, that file actually just goes as a string into the agent worker, which then gets executed in the sandbox. And there's all kinds of really cool things that this enables because of that. And again, like the original goal here was just to make it so that your MCP was more efficient. So that it doesn't send all of the MCP tool calls over there.
Yep.
There's another project called executor.sh that uses code mode to connect your agent to just every possible
Yep.
integration.
Shout out
And
Reese. I've been using this for a few weeks now, and I love it.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's like a kind of like an API gateway sort of thing, or
Yep.
like a gateway for MCP portal sort of thing. Cloudflare actually has a product for MCP portals as well. But what makes Kodi different from both of these is that Kodi doesn't use code mode as an optimization for bad clients, because clients are eventually going to get better. This is not going to be a problem long term. Like OpenCode is implementing code mode right now, and so this won't be a long term problem. And so with these others like Executor and Cloudflare has code mode on their MCP server, you can switch that off, and then it just gives you all of the tools. And so that works well for clients that do support code mode. You can't do that with Kodi. And the reason you can't do that with Kodi is because code is actually how Kodi works. You create packages, and then you consume those packages in calls. And so if I come down here, this is an example of what a conversation might look like with an agent that's hooked up to Kodi. And actually, I'll just dive into the walkthrough so we can control it ourselves here. So here, I might say, what did my favorite bot ship on GitHub recently? And so the agent is like, I don't know what you mean by that. Like, who's your favorite bot? So I'm going to reason. Here, let me bump this up too. I'm going to figure out who that is or what that means. So I'm going to do a search in Kodi. So this is an MCP tool call right here. And I'm going to send this information. This is part of the memory context, because Kodi has a built-in memory, and it will surface those proactively. So anytime a tool call is made to Kodi, the agent includes like, here's what I'm trying to do. And then that is used to surface relevant memories. And so there's the piece that's like, here's what I'm trying to do. And then there's the actual query for the search. And then we'll get our search results. So here's a secret that we can use to access GitHub. And this is, yeah, if you want to do a specific search on this, get details on that secret, there it is. You can never get the actual value of the secret. The agent will never see that secret, which is very different from most of you who are watching this right now with the file that has like literally all of your stuff in it.
Yeah. Just copy pasting right into the agent. Figure this
Yeah.
out. Yes.
Yeah. Now I was never comfortable with that. My agent does not get to see any of my secrets, but it can use them, and that is what makes it useful. And then the relevant memories pops up based off of that that context, that memory context. So it found out, oh, Kodi bot is my favorite bot. So there we go. Now I know what to do. The favorite bot is Kodi bot, and I've got a token, so I can make a fetch call. So now it's making another tool call called execute. And it provides also this conversation ID. So this is used to associate tool calls. And so that way, when a search is made, it doesn't surface the same things that it's already found. Yeah, then it writes this code. Like literally will write code exactly like this. Export default async function main. I'm going to make this fetch call to GitHub, and I'm going to use that secret. So this is how agents see all of your secrets. They never actually see the secret. And this fetch call, when it's run inside of that dynamic worker, this illustration is kind of nice. When it's run inside of the, goodness, there we go, the isolate sandbox, we intercept all fetch calls that are made. So you can't actually make a fetch call from within this environment. You make a fetch call and it goes to your worker. And so inside of my worker, I'm actually able to intercept that fetch call. And I look at the secret that's being used and I say, okay, let me double check that the GitHub access token secret is approved to go to this domain.
Yep.
And so not only can the agent not see it, but it also cannot send it to anywhere but approved domains, which you have approved ahead of time. If it's not approved, then it'll actually send back an error that says like, this isn't approved. Here's a link that you can click to do like a one-click approve this domain, and I'll try again. So it's actually, it's really easy to make sure that your secrets are only going the right places. And then from there, it just has code that handles the rest of this. And the cool thing about this is one of the problems with tool calls is the contents of the tool call is going to end up in the agent.
Yep.
And or possibly like the client could be smart about it and put it in a file somewhere, and then the agent can work with the file. But that seems like a lot of extra work for the agent to do. Instead, the agent just writes the code and it says, here's what I need. I literally just need this array, or like with just these properties. So this response might have like tons of data on it, and the agent is able to just say like, these are the pieces that I need.
Yep.
So it's very token efficient. So it's going to save on your tokens, which is nice.
Nice. Yeah. And I think later I've set up Cody for a very specific use case that I have that I'll share later. But this is really, really interesting. One thing that I'm curious about is I think OpenAI just released support for WebMCP inside Codex. Is Cody getting a WebMCP interface?
Yeah, I suppose it could. WebMCP is mostly useful for like, I have this interface that a computer use is going to open up this site or something, and rather than making the agent find the DOM nodes and stuff, I'll just have these tool calls that it can call. And Cody doesn't really need that, because there's not really everything you can do in the web interface is available through the MCP anyway. And so, and there's not really a complex thing. I liked Wes Boss's demo yesterday, where he's like this complex web interface for like doing 3D modeling and stuff. And you can control these sliders and just turn it and giving a natural language interface to that. That's what WebMCP is cool for. So it's definitely very cool. Just doesn't really apply to code.
Yeah, I think I'm also always confusing WebMCP with MCP UI, which is a separate primitive.
Yeah, actually, the original Cody had a primitive for MCP UI or MCP apps, where you could just tell your agent, build me an app that does this. It would go build it in Cody, and then Cody would render it in the chat. And it was pretty cool. It worked pretty well. But then all of the agents added their own ability to generate a UI just right in the chat. Yeah. And I was like, I don't see why this is valuable anymore to have as a thing in Cody. I guess like you can share across agents. And so I might end up bringing it back. But another thing too is Cody has support for connecting other MCP servers. And so, for example, you could actually, if you like the way that Executor does integrations, but you want to have like the durable, like runnable code that Cody offers, then you could connect Cody to Executor, and then Cody could use Executor, and you can do all your integrations over an Executor, and then Cody can manage like the packages and everything for you too. So Cody plays nicely with pretty much everybody.
MCP inception over here.
Yeah.
One MCP calling another MCP calling a tool. Very cool. In terms of someone that's coming in like that already has their setup, they have their MCP servers connected, they have everything they need. How would they how would you convince them, hey, Cody is worth giving a try?
So the thing that I always want to know from them is like, are you using more than one agent? And is it a pain to take context that you have from one agent into another agent? And not just the context, but like the available tools that you have in there. And anytime you make a change to the way that you're working, whether that be scripts or whatever, Cody can be really useful there. The other thing is like, do you ever close your laptop? Do you turn your laptop off? And do you want to be able to have things run when your laptop is turned off? or your Mac Mini or whatever. And some people are like, no, I just leave it on all the time because my OpenClaw's heartbeat is every 15 minutes and I don't want it to skip, right? And
Yep.
so that's the other thing is like, how much do you care about token efficiency? And so like all of those different things combined make Cody really compelling. So and also like the security of your token, of your like private keys and
Yeah.
stuff. Like, do you care about that? And some people just don't. They don't know that it's a problem, or they don't care that it's a problem.
Yeah.
But Cody makes managing that a lot safer. And I'm actually this isn't a thing now, but it will be a thing soon, where you can have later on in this, I was just going to show, sorry,
Oh,
Serge.
sorry.
Later on in this conversation, we actually turn this into a package. So here it said, I found these things. Do you want me to make a package so I can make it quicker? And so then it figures out how to make packages, and it writes a bunch of files. So it can like save this as a file using the Kodi runtime, and there's package storage and everything to save things. And once this is written, now it's like the agent never has to worry about that again. And then it publishes it sort of like an NPM sort of publish thing. But then what's cool about this too is I will be able to lock that package. So I can say, okay, I know what that package does, and I'm happy with that. It's locked. It cannot be changed without my approval. And so now I'm not going to end up in a situation where the agent decides, oh, I need more information or whatever. So I'm going to grab some information from here and I'm going to send it over here or whatever, which is like yet another security hole.
Yep.
And so just having some deterministic code that runs exactly as you expect and no different, without having an LLM just make decisions that you may not trust. I think that is valuable. And then we take this further, and now we're on our phone, completely different device, different agent and all, that is still hooked up to Kodi. It's able to still use that exact same package. And now the code looks like this, like just way fewer tokens, and it's going to be super reliable. It's going to do it the right way every time. And this is actually so wild. So we've got this special import syntax. So it like resolves those and bundles it. It's pretty crazy what we can do inside of Kodi, and all of that's running inside of durable objects. And then I say, update me when KodiBot does something. And GitHub does not have a inbound webhook for the personal feeds of other people. And so if it did, then Kodi supports webhooks and we could just call those. But instead, it just says, okay, I'll just make a daily cron job, and Kodi supports cron jobs too. And so then you get an email address as well. So it will send you an email from your Kodi's email address every day or whatever, and you can use that.
Very cool.
So anyway, it's pretty, I think, pretty compelling.
Okay, I have a very good segue into this. Has a lot of different systems, and most of them might break at some point. And so I'm curious to dive into that. Before we do that, though, quick question: you mentioned like multiple agents, and like if you are working with multiple agents, I know you're pretty big on Cursor agent, and like so you have it on your phone and you have it on your laptop, and that's kind of like, and it's all in the cloud environments. For people that are using local agents and aren't running these crazy machines that are on 24/7, like I have my work laptop and I sometimes boot up Claude Code or Codex or Cursor or Open Code, but then I'm also like on the go sometimes, and I want to have an interface that doesn't have all the complexity of my code, but I still want to have an agent that is exposed to Kodi for certain things. So like the thing that I'm working on right now is I want to get better at note taking and just like keeping track of things. And Obsidian is huge, and I try to get into it, and I never like got into the habit of taking daily notes. And one of the use cases that I thought for Kodi would be cool is like, okay, well, like Kodi will be just my like specialized in making sure that I keep my notes in check, and like it will remind me to take notes. And I created a package for Obsidian. But in terms of connecting it to like separate harnesses, like, are you a person that thinks there is specific agents that need to do certain things versus like a more generalized agent? Like a Junior, at Sentry, we have our agent Junior that runs in Slack, and it has a bunch of things that it can do, from like GitHub to analytics to a bunch of other stuff. And some people, again, I think Vercel does like individual agents that they build with their framework called Eve, where it's like hyper focused to do like this is my analytics agent. What are your thoughts on that concept of like multi agent orchestration versus one agent that could do sub agents maybe, or whatever else is out there these days?
Yeah, I think if we think about like where do we want to go, like what makes sense for the way that people want to work. I always go back to Jarvis from Marvel and Tony Stark. He doesn't have like a whole bunch of agents that he's talking to. It's just Jarvis or Friday later.
Yep.
And then Jarvis, who knows what he's doing? Like he's probably got a million sub agents running underneath of him. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Jarvis, I want to work out. Like, what is my workout going to look like? Jarvis, I need to send this email. Or Jarvis, like, Jarvis proactive and telling you about your schedule and stuff. And then Jarvis can have like the sub agents. I think for myself, that's the way I like to work.
Yeah.
But I think most of the tools are limited in their ability to act as that Jarvis.
Yeah.
And so right now I have Grokbot is my favorite consumer level app. And I've got a chief of staff. I think that's a pretty common approach to that. And so I just talk to my chief of staff, which I call Cody.
Yep.
And then I have a bunch of different agents or bots that I made for different tasks and specific tasks. And then Cody can just spawn out to those others. And so I just talk to Cody and then it spawns out to the other ones as needed. And I've only been doing that for a little bit, so I can't speak to whether that's super great, but it's pretty good. And then of course, like Cody integrates super well with that. Like Cody codes integrates super well with that. And so all of the bots have access to Cody and use that access to talk to Cloudflare or GitHub or Sentry or really any of the other services. And so I don't have to worry about wiring those up. And the nice thing too is that works with the Grok app on my phone or Claude or ChatGPT or like anything else in any other context. And so when we're talking about like building agents that are specific for a particular thing like Junior, or I had somebody show me an agent that was like helped you get ready for a launch of a product. And I'm seeing all these different agents and I'm thinking, why are these not just skills for a highly capable agent?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. There's probably a reason. I just don't know what it is.
I think context management obviously comes to mind as like the one thing that eats up a lot. And like if it needs to, if one main agent needs to keep track of all these different agents, and if it's not done effectively, then you quickly cross your wires, I guess, and agents start stepping on each other's toes. But again, like that's something that can be solved with progressive discovery and just like better management of like understanding what needs to be done for these separate workflows.
Yeah, and it almost seems like it would be nice to turn those manual workflows into deterministic code that you could run at any time to save on that context.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a tool that exists that does that.
Yeah.
But going back to building Cody, obviously, I don't know if Cody is building itself these days, and there's like all these different factories that exist out there. But I think you're more grounded in the way that you approach building Cody. So walk me through kind of like how you approach these different primitives that you're building out, and then when something breaks, like what happens in those cases.
Yeah. So I've been very intentional about how I build Cody. I originally created a so for those of you who are familiar, I made the Epic stack several years ago, which is just the way that I build applications. And Epic Web, the series of courses on there are how I build applications with the Epic stack. And so when I decided to go like, okay, let's go hard on MCP and everything, that required me to move off of what the Epic stack was into something that's more Cloudflare native, because at the time the MCP spec made it really kind of hard to build an MCP server on anything but Cloudflare. And with the recent version, that is different, and now it's a lot easier to build other places, but I still love Cloudflare. So anyway, I made a new project called Epic Flare that is like a starter project based on the Epic stack. And then with that really solid architecture in place, I started Kodi. And so Kodi already had a really good set of primitives for authentication and for RBAC controls and even like the MCP server and all of that. And then I've slowly built on Kodi from there. But I started Kodi at the end of March, and that first little bit, it was when I looked at most of the code, or the amount of code that I looked at. Most of it was at that time, which was not much, and now it is well over 500,000 lines of code. That like not. It's not just been growing. I'm a primitive pruner. I love to
Yep.
get rid of stuff, and I'm constantly getting rid of things. And so like the MCP app support and stuff, which may come back in a different form. But yeah, so it's gone a lot of this, but it's not a small project. And so figuring out how to make it so that the agents are able to build solid software with me not being as involved has been a really fun and engaging thing. And on top of that, with actual users, and I do have paying users now, even though it's still early access. Um, and so I have to be really thoughtful and careful about how I build that. And having the right primitives in place and the like decision records, like architectural decision records and good documentation are all a critical piece. And then when something breaks, I'm a solo developer. If I'm asleep, I don't want to have to wait for a simple fix to go out.
Yep.
And so I have Sentry on it, of course. And when something breaks, Sentry does the root cause analysis, and that triggers a webhook on Kodi. And
Yep.
Kodi will evaluate that and decide through deterministic code whether it needs to spin up a Cursor Cloud Agent, and then the Cursor Cloud Agent will determine how easy is this fix. If it's an obvious fix, then we'll just fix it and ship it to production, and Cursor will use that to talk to Kodi and say, okay, Kodi, I just shipped this, tell Kent. And then I wake up and I've got a Discord message explaining everything that happened when I was asleep. So it's self-healing. And then to take it a step further, I actually have my own error tracking stuff inside of Kodi, because you've got packages that are executed on triggers and webhooks and crons and whatever. And if those fail, then I need to have some visibility into that. And so it records the failure and it emits an event, and then other packages can subscribe to that event and trigger new Cursor Cloud agents to go figure out what's going on. And so like, not only is Kodi, the platform itself, getting self-healing from Sentry, but like my packages within Kodi are also getting self-healing, and it's pretty powerful. It's a pretty fun way to work.
Is that error tracking also done through Sentry, or do you have like your own system that just kind of like captures the error and emits its own?
Yeah. I've just got my own system. I thought about how I could make that work through Sentry, but this is a thing that needs to be like on a per user basis.
Right.
So every user would have to have their like set up their own Sentry thing, and you could probably, in fact, I know you could make that work. You could have a package that has your Sentry DSN and all of that. So if that's what you wanted to do, you could absolutely do that.
Yeah, or like you could technically probably spin up on-demand projects within your Sentry organization for individual users, but I don't know how well that scales for you. And
Yeah,
that might become.
I don't know if Sentry has a product for like this. This would be something that would benefit also like a code sandbox or a Blitz or something too, right? Where users are creating code on your platform. And so like having a Sentry as a platform sort of thing. I don't know if that's a thing Sentry has, but that could be useful. But what I have right now is sufficient. Most of the software written on Kodi is personal software anyway, and so it's not going to be like giant systems that are really hard to track down and whatnot. So it seems to work pretty well.
Do you have a cursor automation you can share right now that kind of like typically like how it's set up and what kind of prompt it's using that you can share or talk about?
Yeah, I can. Let me find. If I go, you can go ahead and share my screen.
Yeah.
So inside of Cursor, if I look at the files for my Sentry triage pack, or sorry, not in Cursor, but in
Kodi.
In Kodi, I have the Kensidon's Sentry triage package, and this is what is responsible for handling when there's an error going on in Sentry. So yeah, it's autonomous Sentry issue triage. Every new issue in a configured Sentry project. So I've actually got lots of projects, not just Kodi, but there's Kodi Video and Kodi Exchange and my own personal website and a number of others. But it spawns one Cursor Cloud agent, Grok 4.5. That should be 4.6 now. On the project's repository that either fixes the issue or opens a PR, marks it or marks it as ignored in Sentry with the justification, or writes a recommendation. So if it's not positive what it should do, then I can jump in. And then it reports by editing a single Discord message. And let me see if I can actually pull that up so y'all can see what that looks like. I'm going to bring this over here just in case I got DMs that people don't want me to share with the world. Where is that? Yes, I think it's in here. So actually, it's not just Sentry reports that come in here. It's also like Kodi's own issues that come in here. So that's what this is. There was an inline code execution timed out.
Oh, you might be sharing just a window instead of a screen.
Oh,
here.
yeah. Whoops. Let me fix that. Where is this? How do I change that? Share screen. Oh, yeah. Entire screen. Here we go. Yeah, I meant to do that in the first place. Okay. All right. You see that now?
Yes.
Okay, sweet. So, so yeah, this was a Kodi issue, and it decided that it was just noise, so it resolved it. Here's another Kodi issue, my personal history package. This is kind of like your notes thing. It sends me a message every day. After reviewing my journal and other personal history things, it says, oh, here's an area of your life that's not very well covered. We're going to send you a note. And so, yeah, there was an issue there. Let me see if I can find... Maybe this, I don't think I have a separate channel for, yeah, I also have Kodi feedback. So you can tell your agent to send feedback to Kodi, and it will send it right to Kodi and then spawns up a Cursor Cloud agent to evaluate that idea, which is pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Kind of fun. Okay, this is Kodi issue, Sentry issue. Here we go.
Nice.
So I'll get a message like this, and then it actually edits the message. So it stays up to date with where it's at right now. And so this one was fixed. There was an illegal constructor somewhere. And the Remix style manager now uses new CSS style sheet which throws on iOS or whatever. So like I seriously had no idea this happened. It was not necessary for me. So as soon as an issue shows up in Sentry, then I get a message in here, and it starts with saying like spawning agent, or I think it starts with waiting for Sentry RCA, which is the root cause analysis.
Yep.
And then once root cause analysis is finished, then it calls back to the webhook on Kodi, and it says, okay, you can spin up an agent to triage this. And like Sentry actually has a built-in integration with Cursor, so you can just have Sentry do most of this. But the nice thing about this is not only do I get visibility here, which is nice, but also I can have Kodi decide whether I want it to spin up a Cursor Cloud agent. And so I can save tokens in that way too. So like there could be, oh, you know what, there's this other issue here that is similar and another agent's already working on it. Or like another, I don't know if Sentry has this built in, but you could enter a problem where you are in an infinite loop where agent fixes thing, causes another bug, agent fixes, and we're not getting to the root cause. And so my package has that built in to make sure that that's not happening. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, here are all the different projects that I have set up for this, and they're all just self-healing. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then the actual cursor automation, I'm assuming, just looks fairly simple at this point because you've kind of done the bouncing. Like if you think about a club and this is a bouncer that only lets issues in that actually need action, then like the cursor automation is just like pull this information from Sentry, figure out how to fix it, and then run tests. Do you do some like visual QA? What is the
yeah. So actually, I don't have a cursor automation for this. I do have automations for other things.
Okay.
In Cursor, but I don't need one because everything's handled by Kodi. But if you want to look, oh, and by the way, like these packages inside Kodi actually have tests and everything too. It's like, it's not a joke. It's cool. But yeah, so this is the first time I'm looking at any of this code. My agent wrote all of this stuff.
Nice.
But it looks like there's it constructs this prompt. Here we go. Zero root cause. And actually, you know what would be probably more useful is just to look at the agent, because it's going to be spun
Yeah.
up with the prompt originally. So here it's saying you are a Sentry triage agent for this repo in this Sentry org. First of all, like Sentry, I don't want Sentry errors to be a mechanism for prompt injection. Not that models are very like susceptible to that anymore, but
Yep.
yeah. So just talking about the possible problems there could be. Here's the Sentry issue and details from RCA. And yep, that's that. Here's some interesting things about the repo. I could probably clean up some of this. Here's step 0, loop collision guard. So this is part of like making sure that we're not spinning up more than one agent on a similar issue. So you can get the current issue state from Sentry Triage package. And then I want you to investigate and summarize this error that I believe ends up going to the Discord message. And yeah, here's your decision tree. It's either fixed, so this is fixable and you fixed it, and you shift it to production if it was like a low risk issue. And otherwise it could be filtered. So it's not fixable. It's like somebody's extension through an error. We are not going to do anything about that. So we're going to filter that out. And that also goes into like the code base as like a filter. So it doesn't even, traces don't even go to Sentry.
Yep.
Or it's ignored in Sentry. And so it just sends this little ignored thing there. And then, oh yeah. And also there's a recommendation, like it's too risky for me to fix myself. So you fix it for me, or like talk to Kent and we'll look at it together. That basically never happens. It almost always knows what to do. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Nice. In terms of the quality of the root cause analysis, I know you mentioned, I believe you recently turned that part on with Seer. Were you doing some of that analysis beforehand and you saw that like it was consuming a lot of tokens, and so offloading that to Seer kind of made sense for you, or what was your thinking there?
Yeah. So originally it was just a Sentry issue, Cursor Cloud agent, like that. That's just how it always went. And then the Cursor Cloud agent would talk to Sentry to get any additional information that it needed, or it would just look at the code base. It would look at production data, and logs and stuff like that too. And root cause analysis just skipped a couple of those hops where it didn't need to do as much because Sentry already did a lot of the investigation, where even like Sentry can say, here's the specific files where this is going to, like, this problem is coming from and that sort of thing. And so it ends up saving my agent a lot of just running around trying to figure out the context. And so, yeah, that was as a result of that, I am using fewer tokens inside of my agents. And as far as like pricing goes, I think that it's also cheaper to have Sentry do everything rather than just say, oh no, I'll just have my own agent do it. Once you factor in all the token costs and everything, RCA is better, faster, and cheaper than just having my agent do it.
Yeah, we get a lot of those questions in terms of like, or like people's assumptions usually these days, especially with AI, is like, I can just build this in house and do this myself. But it turns out over the long period of time, and as the more you dig into it, then like there's maintenance costs for making sure that the things that you've built still work, versus just like handing it off to the experts, sort of say.
Mm-hmm.
I know Cursor, like I think I want to showcase an automation in a second here that is like the native Cursor automations with Sentry. But you mentioned you set it up as a webhook. How complicated of a process was that? How easy was that of a process to get that going?
Well, so Cody has like God level tier token access to Sentry. It can do everything. I enabled all the scopes, and so I said, like, here's what I want to, like, here's how I want it to work. Here's the intent. Go. And it set up the webhook for me. And like, I honestly, I have no idea exactly
Fair.
how it works. It just does. So if we look at the package, though, we can see where that config is on Cody's side, because I think that might like drive some of it home of how it works. So first of all, in the package.json is where you configure your exports, and that's what agents can use when they're just executing random things, or when you're importing from other packages. And then you've got the Cody section, which has dependencies. So these are the other packages, like other Cody packages that you depend on. And then you have your jobs. So I also have a sweep that's like, just in case we missed a webhook or something, it'll just make sure that we're not missing anything. And then here's the webhook. So this is Sentry webhook. It's going to call this export. And then here's verifications using HMAC and like all this stuff. I did not like.
Yep.
It asked me for the Sentry webhooks. No, I don't think it even asked me for this. Like, I think it created the secret on Sentry and then added it for me, because Cody can actually set secrets even if it's not able to get those for the agent. The agent can actually set that. So probably, I'm guessing, set it up in Sentry, had that value, and then just stuck it into
Nice.
into
I guess
here.
that just goes to show that the API surface for Sentry is good enough for agents to figure out what the hell they need to do to get all this wired up.
Yep. It was pretty straightforward.
That's really cool. Okay, I am gonna take a second just to showcase the kind of like cursor automation workflows for some of this stuff. So bear with me here. I'm gonna share my entire screen, and hopefully nothing that shouldn't be there gets leaked. But yeah, so like webhooks are definitely one way to go about this. Let's do recording laptop. I should put it in. Oh no, I'm sharing my screen, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, so I have a couple of automations set up with Cursor, and when you set one of those up, like Cursor has this concept of triggers, and this can be scheduled, so kind of like a cron job. But then all the integrations that you have set up in Cursor, you can also have pretty much webhooks exposed as these triggers for Cursor automations. And so Sentry is one of them, where if an issue gets that might be a UX cursor thing. I don't know why I can't hover over that. But anyway, anytime an issue gets created, you can also have an automation run inside Cursor. And the ones that I have set up are feedback to feature. So this is actually something interesting, that you have something similar where you get feedback from Cody through whichever mechanism is set up. I think we chatted about using Sentry's feedback API, but it didn't work based on some of the criteria that you were, or Cody was assessing for, or like your agent was assessing for it. But this I run this on our docs website for Sentry, because anytime you go to a docs page and something is wrong, at the bottom here, there's a was it helpful or not? And so when somebody fills this out, this shows up in Sentry as an issue type. And so that triggers this automation based on the issue. And then it just like figures out you're a feedback analyst, and it gathers the context and figures out, checks the memory. So if like this is the same feedback that already got addressed, doesn't need to kick off. But you bring up a good point in terms of like doing this in a deterministic environment before it hits an automation or a cloud run environment. A lot of this stuff, like you really could be saving on tokens. Yeah, that's definitely pretty cool. And if somebody wants to have like an easy way to do this, you can definitely do this through the Cursor automation. So feedback to features one, I also use it for my like work log, which collects all my like linear tickets. It figures out my GitHub commits over the week, and then every single week it like kind of like keeps me on track of like all the things that I'm supposed to be doing. And obviously you can use this as kind of like your triage for new issues coming in as well. If you are using Seer, if you're not using Seer, again, you set up an automation, and then you have these like tools at the bottom, which one of them is an MCP server. You can connect it to Discord or Slack, and it can kind of do the same things that you've sprung together with the Cody stuff, which is pretty cool. And it's fun to see different ways to be doing things. Yeah, so that's one thing. But I did want to also real quick talk about what I've built with Cody, and I just want to get your take on how that's going on. So
Yeah,
if
love
we
to hear that.
go to Cody and let's take a look at my packages. So I have a couple here. I have my Sentry MCP, linear MCP. I don't know why I decided I don't need a linear package as well. And I have my Vault, which Vault is my Obsidian connection. Is this the right way to go about it? Like, because I understand that like Cody packages exist as templates that are like at Cody /Sentry MCP, and then I essentially take and fork it and create my own version with my own configuration and my own kind of like take on it.
Yep,
Is that right?
exactly. Yep.
Perfect. And what I also wanted to do was make sure that, let me just open this up in a different tab first before, make sure that I'm on the right thing here. Can I
I
collapse?
lost your video feed.
Uh-oh. Oh, my camera overheats and
Oh
decides
no.
to stop. That's, I have the Sony ZV-E2, and if somebody at Sony is watching, this happens every once in a while.
Grab an ice pack.
Yeah, right. Let's see. I can probably turn on my FaceTime HD camera and
There you are. Hello.
just be a little bit different. But yeah, while that cools, we'll come back to it. What was I showing? I was showing Cody, and yes, I have. It's funny you mention Friday, because that's what I called my little agent here.
Mm.
And I'm starting with this like I'm trying to look at it from like a brick by brick kind of perspective, where I've used OpenClaw before and I've given it some sort of access and it was fine, but I kind of am curious myself about how these things work and how do you build a harness, build an agent, how do all these different tools interact. And so this is using Flu framework, which for those of you that are not familiar, it's fluframework.com. It's an agent framework to build agents using, I think it's on top of Pi, which is a separate harness. Has really good support on Cloudflare. So yeah, this is a Flu agent that is on Cloudflare, and I connected it with the Kodi MCP. So Flu has MCP connectors, and I gave it this vault. And then I started talking to it, and I was like, what's on my list? Today's list is empty, no linear issues. And then it like gave me, oh yeah, one of the issues was like, I had my notes that were just like linear ticket IDs. And I was like, well, I need a little bit more context about these, like what's going on. And then it's like, oh, I think at some point before it was like, oh, I can't read it. Oh, I guess this is a new one. But anyway, so it was like, couldn't read it at first. And then I started giving it more tools. And so I'm building this up. But one thing that I am doing here just to like understand what's going on is Sentry recently came out with this like agents view, which helps you monitor your agents and kind of like understand the things that it's doing, why it's doing certain things, and what the like how much tokens it's using and much of that stuff. So I have these conversations here, and I noticed that I asked it what's on my list today, and it thought for a second. So this is Flu's kind of telemetry getting emitted, and Sentry is picking it up. And I saw that it made a tool called Vault Read with a path of my daily for today. But the output was, or I guess there's no output, but it errored out. And source replace is not a function. So there was like an issue with this tool call, and it turns out that the tool, the Kodi package could read nodes, but if it didn't find one for today because it didn't create a new daily node, it didn't get created automatically. It errored out, and like you can see the agent trying to like recover itself and trying again and hitting the same thing, which is interesting because I never told it to do that. But yeah, just wanted to real quick showcase kind of agent monitoring, and this is a way for you to see like, okay, which model was called, what were the inputs, what was the output, and how much it really cost me. And so this is one way you can monitor your agents. I'm curious if you're monitoring the Kodi MCP server with MCP server monitoring from Sentry.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, this is actually one of the reasons why I didn't, I don't have a chat for Kodi, like where you could just go and chat to Kodi yourself, because I don't want to have to deal with making a worse agent than what's available from, like, now we have Grokbot. It's fabulous, or Codex or Claude or whatever. Like whatever I make is not going to be as good as what they have. And so I just say, instead of that, I will augment those with things that they will never do. Like there's not really a world where where all of the big labs get together and kumbaya and say, yeah, we're going to make it easy for people to visit our garden rather than just like set up shop here. And so, yeah, anyway, that like, so I'm not using agent monitoring. It's a cool product for sure, but I am not. I want to be able to charge not for tokens. Like I just don't want to touch anybody's tokens.
Yeah, and this is so the question I asked wasn't about agent monitoring here. Separately, MCP monitoring is literally just keeping track of the tool calls that your server is making. So you can understand like, okay, Cody MCP server is making these execute calls with these inputs, and this is where like maybe some of it is failing.
Mhm.
Essentially taking it from like just observing like when an error happens, when you throw an exception, that turns it into an issue. Whereas with agent monitoring, MCP monitoring, this is more about like the telemetry that the server, so Cloudflare MCP will emit telemetry from your MCP server, and then Sentry kind of picks it up, and then you get all this data around like what the tool calls were, what clients were connected, and so you can kind of like get another kind of more context into what's going on with your server that is um, not just like straight up errors.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah,
Yep, I'm definitely using that, and it helps a lot to have the additional context for the agent that's going to go fix it to realize, oh, this is uh, this is MCP specifically, and
yeah.
here are the specific traces that are relevant in that world.
Okay, cool. Um, we have 3 minutes left. If people want to ask some questions in the chat, I saw one from Sam Matthew. Is your first name Sam or Matthew? I wanted to learn more about cursor automations, like running it on cloud, and also how this can be logged and tracked using Sentry for making sure your agents are on the right path or not. Really cool question. I showcased the cursor automation, and that creates like these agent runs for every single automation. Um, I don't know if you can hook up your own Sentry DSN to it to like track the tool calls that it makes and figure all of that out. That's a good question. You might, yeah. I know Cursor is tracking that, or Grok at this point. I'm not sure where they're at with their renames. Um, question from Suvasis. I'm gonna butcher names, but the question is, do you use Circle CI?
I don't know. I'm just on GitHub Actions.
Nice. Yeah. Hopefully they stop going down every once in a
Yeah,
while because
yeah,
I think
they
there
went
was
down today.
they did go down today. Yeah. Do you have any questions for Sentry? Do you have any feature requests? Do you have any observations
I
from?
wanted to show one other thing really quick, just for
Absolutely.
folks who stuck around to the end. If you want to get in the early access for Kodi, I have a special code for you. You just kodi.code/sign up, and you can enter the code Sentry-friend,
Oh,
and you can sign up there. So yeah, if you want to try it out, I definitely welcome that and welcome your feedback. I'm hoping to launch in the next week or two. And so we're getting pretty close, but yeah, definitely appreciate any and all feedback that people can give on their experience using Kodi. The onboarding experience is something that I have like gone through 100 times to try and figure out how to make it both easy and powerful. So welcome your feedback on that. And if you want to give the best feedback to anybody, this is not just me, but like anytime somebody asks for your feedback, the very best thing that you can do for them is to just record your screen when you start. That is way better than any amount of like, oh, I did this and then that and then this. It's like, let me just watch you use it. Hugely valuable. So would appreciate any of that.
awesome. Yeah. I try to get into habit of that, of like recording myself, saving that, but I also am sometimes very easy to like fire off feedback.
Yeah.
um, one more question for you. Are there hooks from Sentry that we don't expose that you'd like to see?
Oh, So this is actually a bit of a challenge. I should ask my agent, because my agent is the one that's using all the hooks that exist already, and my agent's the one building the workarounds. And I honestly don't know where the shortcomings are. So I'll ask later, and I'll hit you up.
You can
If
you can use Cody Exchange, set it up with your agent, let him go through it, and then let me just connect my agent, and then we'll get them to work on some hooks that are needed if they're missing.
I will literally do that right now. I'll send you an exchange prompt to send to your agent. I think that'd be fun.
I would love to, because I haven't tried it yet, and I've been looking for an excuse to do that.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Awesome. Tyler says this was super cool, guys. Tyler, thank you so much. You're awesome. I'll see you in October for Remix Jam. I know, Kent, I don't think you're making it this
I
time around.
probably will not make it, but maybe we'll see. But probably not going to make that.
GitHub Universe.
Yes, I will be there.
Awesome. I will be there as well. There's a syntax meetup, I think, happening as it does every single year. So yeah, everyone that joined in, thank you so much for your time, Kent. Really, really appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah,
And
thank you. Appreciate you.
yeah, if we ever do this again, maybe we will. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah,
Awesome.
sounds good. Thanks so much, Serge.
All right, I'm gonna end the stream here, and
Bye, everybody.